Here for another live event. It's a Facebook podcast. We actually have it on all the different platforms, Meldon Law and Friends. This is Carrie Meldon. I'm actually a special guest appearing on behalf of my father, Jeffrey Meldon, who started the podcast in 2020 during COVID. And since then, we've been churning out guest after guest. And we have a great guest this afternoon, a gentleman by the name of Lott Bullock. And we're going to have a really cool conversation in a few minutes. But before we do that, as always, we're going to kind of give you a preview as to what Meldon Law's got coming up in the next week or two. Obviously, if you ever want to know about free tickets or free events that we're throwing, go on our social media. We have a great Facebook page, Meldon Law. We also have a Instagram account in which you can see everything that's going on. And if that doesn't work and you're old school, get on your phone, give us a call. 1-352-373-8000, and we'll get you keyed up to all the good stuff that's going on in Gainesville. We're very proud to be here. I love the opportunity to get here, and I was about maybe 10 minutes late because I was dealing with clients, but as all the audience knows at Meldon Law, the clients come first, and we don't mess around about that. You know, if our team members don't give the clients the experience that they deserve, then I want to make sure that you guys get it. So if there's ever any questions that you have, you can call me personally, Carrie Meldon at Meldon Law, 352-373-8000. So without further ado, let's get into the upcoming Meldon Law events. I'm reading them off my phone here, and I'm going quick because we're running a little bit late, and I want to make sure we get Lott enough time to talk about what he's going to talk about, which will be some cool things. So first of all, Saturday, April 22nd, which is this Saturday, Meldon Law is participating in Tyler Hope's Cajun Crawfish Boil, with the benefits going towards the search for a cure to discover effective treatments for dystonia. Tyler Hope has been one of the largest charitable organizations in North Central Florida for a few years now. They do an incredible job. I can tell you these events are always extremely organized. They're a lot of fun. And of course, they're for a great cause. On Tuesday, April 25th, next Tuesday, Meldon Law will be part of the Fan Fest for the baseball game against UNF, University of North Florida. It starts at 4:30. The game starts at 6. Come on by the Meldon Law tent. It's in front of Gate 1. You spin the wheel, and you'll get some sweet Florida Gators swag. The one thing that's really cool that between the partnership between the Florida Gators and Meldon Law is that we're the only law firm in the country that is allowed to use the Gator logos on our swag. So when we give out the swag, it's actually really good swag. We're focused on making sure that the Gator brand is loud and clear. And then the next Saturday, the Saturday after next, we're having a really cool event, which we're going to talk about in more detail later in this interview, and that's the Williston Annual Make and Bacon Festival in Heritage Park out in Williston from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. When you're there, you get to meet our newest star, Lott Bullock, the attorney that we're going to be talking about later today. He is an energetic, great trial lawyer, and we're so happy to have him on board. He'll be participating as a judge in the bacon dish contest. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that entails and a little bit about Lott Bullock's background with the city of Williston. As you probably can tell, it's going to be a lot of bacon out there. So if you're kosher, you may want to bring your own food, but it's still worth attending if you want to go out there and have some fun. And then finally, the next day, Saturday, April 30th, it's Meldon Law Day at Gators softball. The women's softball team is always incredible. We will be a part of the Fan Fest starting before the game at around 10 a.m. The game starts at noon. Come on by, spin the wheel, and win that Gator swag. So I think I just killed the announcements in about 2 minutes. I'm going to take a little bit of a breath here. Before we go into our interview, I want to let all the listeners know if you ever want to be a guest on the show, give us a call. Ask for our marketing department, Josh Howard, and we'll get you set up. This is a great opportunity. We've had some incredible guests. I go back and watch the shows all the time. Obviously, Steve Spurrier. We've had Sven Dykerbolton, who ended up building this whole complex in Celebration Point. We've had Mary Wise, who's an incredible women's Gators coach, and unfortunately, I can't list all the names, but there's just been Dr. Oken, who's the foremost, one of the foremost neurologists in the country that works here at University of Florida. He actually worked with Muhammad Ali before he passed on his neurological disorder. So these guests that we have on this show is incredible. I think it really highlights the amount of incredible, and I keep saying that word, but that's a correct word to use in this circumstance, but the amount of outstanding people in North Central Florida, Lake City, Gainesville, Ocala, and the surrounding areas. There's just some very unique talent, and we love getting people on here, and it's a fun opportunity for us. We're obviously sitting here in the Mecca, Steve Spurrier's podcast room. If you have not been to Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, come on out here. We're located in Celebration Point. Steve Spurrier, Freddie Wiebe, and the team do an incredible job of making sure that the food is on point, the drinks are on point, the ambiance is great. You always have a place to sit because there's so many tables. I'm looking around, and there's got to be probably 50, 60 tables. Although they do get full. I do know that their brunches have been very popular, and their dinners get popular too. So we're here in the Mecca of Gator fandom, and we're happy to be here. So we're going to go to a break, and then we'll come back with our guest, Lott Bullock. He's sitting here on my right, and we're going to talk some fun stuff, okay? So I appreciate it. We'll be back in a few seconds.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Hey dads and kids, join head coach Billy Napier at the Gainesville All-Pro Dad Experience, Saturday, April 22nd at 9 a.m. at the University of Florida Sanders Practice Facility and Fields. Learn fatherhood tips and participate in activities with your kids while rotating through stations on the field. It's only $25 per family, so register today at allprodad.com/events. The Gainesville All-Pro Dad Experience is brought to you by the Florida Department of Education, Dairy Council of Florida, and Tyson.
I was going down a one-way street and a girl that was driving her car T-boned me on my scooter. I ended up going for an MRI and discovering that I had 2 herniated discs. Coming to Cary allowed me to not have to worry about what doctor I was going to see or what physical therapist I had to go to. They say, these are the people we trust. You're going to have a great experience there, and I honestly did each time.
Call Meldon Law. Your consultation is absolutely free.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 2 herniated discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
And I was in an accident. Someone ran a red light and hit me, and I was hurt. You don't know where to turn. Luckily, I called Jeffrey. These big insurance companies, they don't want you to win. They truly don't. But Jeffrey and his firm and the people that work here, they just really fight for you. You call the law offices of Jeffrey Meldon, because you're going to need help, and they will help you.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Hey, Sammy, look who's there. Say hi.
Hey!
You again.
Meldon Law, Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey!
somebody else.
us.
He doesn't hear
Yeah.
it. Here we go again.
We're back here at Meldon Law and Friends. We got a good friend here today and a coworker, a team member, recently joined the Meldon Law team, Lott Bullock. Welcome to the squad here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
All right. Well, Lott is a really interesting fella. He's a talented trial lawyer. I'm proud to say he's not scared to fight for our clients. And honestly, I can tell you right now, based upon what his reputation is in the community, he's been a great addition to the Meldon Law and Friends. And we hope to have him win some cases in the near future. I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. So without further ado, we want to get into a few. Let's get into a few basic questions first. Lott, why don't you just introduce yourself to the audience out there? Tell them a little bit about yourself, how you became a lawyer, and what brought you to where you are today.
Kind of a funny story. I never really thought I'd be a lawyer. So from Williston, been there forever. Family's been there for generations. I think my little cousins are 7th generation right there in that community. Mm-hmm. Puts me at 6th. Don't have kids yet, so we're still lingering at 6 here. Went to school there. Went to high school there. Went to ABAC for a year up in Georgia Ag College.
Okay.
Always kind of thought we'd be. I always thought I'd do an ag job. I always thought I'd be a farmer or something close to that, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't really like it up there as a community college. Not at the time it was community college. It basically is kind of a suitcase college. Everybody went home on the weekends, this or that. I hear they've done a lot more since then. I think it's, I have lots of friends who enjoyed it up there, but I just wanted to be back home, right?
Right.
Came back to Santa Fe for a year. After that, got my undergrad at UF, Food and Resource Economics. It's basically replaced ag business, or ag economics.
Were you an AGR fraternity member?
Absolutely. I was there from 2012 to, I don't know when I faded out of that. I stayed in grad school long enough.
I may have lectured in front of you one day about the University of Florida Student Conduct and Conflict Resolution, because I went through. I think I was there in 2010 or 2012, probably before your time. I was lecturing on how to stay out of trouble at UF. But so you went to UF, you joined AGR. AGR is the farmers fraternity, for lack of a better.
That's it.
Yep. And and then what happened after that?
Stayed there for a while. Ended up in getting a 4+1 degree. So basically for ag business, right? So you do your 4th year of your undergrad is the same as your 1st year of your master's program. So I was able to get that master's degree in just 1 year of the program, really, just because those overlapped for the year. Finished that and really didn't know what I was going to do. I was working out there at Chiefland Farm Supply, selling feed at the time.
Okay.
And I was kind of trying to figure out what to do with my life. My brother had taken the LSAT, my older brother, and he's like, why don't you take it just to see how you do? Just see what happens, right? Mm-hmm. And I was kind of skeptical. I kind of went in there blind, took it. He did a little bit better than me, and that made me mad. So, a little bit of brotherly competition, right? So I ended up taking it again, did really well. And I only applied to one school for the most part. I sent out a couple others that I wasn't really serious about, but I got accepted everywhere. But, frankly, if I couldn't go to UF, I wasn't going to go. Mm-hmm. Got in, started in 2015. So wow. Yep, and we were there for 3 years. I bounced around a bunch of different areas of law, trying to figure out what in the world I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. The first summer, I worked for Marty Smith down in Ocala. I don't know if you know him or not, but that was kind of a family connection. There are a bunch of farmers here locally too, right? Mm-hmm. So families dig cows. They did them with the Smiths. And then Mr. Marty said, hey, I got to practice doing civil work down in Ocala. Come down to Ocala. I did that for 1 year. One summer, that they dealt mostly with, at the time, he's, obviously represents a bunch of farmers down South Florida, but he also was doing some work with nursing homes at the time. That's what I was able to work on a little bit then. Did that for a summer. To be honest with you, I wasn't real excited about it. I spent a lot of time in a cubicle, doing stuff, but, they were very good to me there. Mm-hmm. Not complaining about the opportunity, just I didn't think that one was for me, right?
Right.
So then the following year I did... what did I do next? Let me think here. I went to work for the county. I worked for Levy County under Miss Annie Brown. Okay. Back when she was the county attorney. Kind of the same thing there. Like I said, great opportunity, but wasn't real thrilled with it. Also interned with the public defenders.
What were you doing with the county's office?
just whatever they had. At the time, that's when all the marijuana laws were changing. She had me looking into all that about where you could do dispensaries and this, that, and the
Gotcha.
other. They also had a big deal going on with the Ten Commandments. They put the Ten Commandments up in front of the courthouse.
I remember that.
That was a big stink. So we
Yeah.
did a lot of legal research about that.
Well, the Ten Commandments are the original laws. As a lawyer,
Original laws.
yeah, if you follow the Ten Commandments, you're probably going to be okay.
Well, right, but it wasn't those folks that were upset. It was
Yeah.
the folks that didn't want to. They wanted to put up a bench, and that became a whole issue. They wanted either the Ten Commandments down, or they wanted to put up this bench, and it was a
Right.
big back and forth between
Gotcha.
two different groups there.
I'm sure there was separation of church and state arguments and all that
Lots
good
of
stuff.
them. There
Yeah.
was a ton. It was a lot. But in the midst of all that, Judge Smith, Joe Smith from
Yeah.
Levy County back
Right.
in the day,
Yep.
he reached out to me. He said, "Lott, I don't care what you end up doing, but promise me that you'll try to work for the state."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Just spend one summer doing it." He's like, if you don't like it, I'll never bother you about it again.
Right.
He said, "I don't care if it's state attorney or public defender." So, well, all right. Kind of threw my name in the hat there and ended up at the public defender's office. Spent that summer there. The following little period after that, I tried the family law clinic. So I did that for a year and ended up coming back to the public defender's office, ended up working for Mike Graves down in the Fifth Circuit. So that's where we started.
And so you really enjoyed, I know you enjoyed your time working at the public defender's office. For the listeners out there that may not be familiar with the legal system, the public defender's office was it's not an old institution. I think came about probably in the late 60s, early 70s, right?
66 or 68 when that ruling came out.
When Gideon v. Wainwright created the right to counsel, and it was constitutionally protected, and that means you get appointed counsel. And the public defender's office is a very underappreciated office, because what it does is it really is the only way that our laws and our Constitution can be upheld against unbridled power. And I always tell people when they say about, well, the police are putting their lives on the line, I say, you know what, the police are putting their lives on the line, and God bless them. But the same Constitution that gave them power in Article 3 is the same Constitution that gives people a right to a jury trial and a right to be presumed innocent. And we got to respect the four corners of the document, not just pick and choose parts of it. And I think we're guilty of that, especially in this day and age. You got First Amendment rights being mitigated while you got Second Amendment rights getting pushed through, and all of a sudden we're like, okay, the Bill of the Right. I mean, are the Bill of Rights the Bill of Rights, or which ones are important, which ones aren't? But I don't want to interrupt too much. The fact is that the Public Defender's Office is an incredible opportunity, because you get to hear stories about people that you may not have grown up with, or you get to put yourself in another person's situation a little bit. It's what they say in To Kill a Mockingbird. You've never really you have to walk in someone else's skin to understand where they're coming from, and that's really difficult to do. So I think that it's commendable you spent time there, and it's something that you felt like you were very good at and you were passionate about, right?
Absolutely, I loved it. You talk about how the necessity there, the right to have it, but frankly, they're also overworked and understaffed, right? I covered almost 1,000 cases in the year that I was with Mr. Graves' office.
That's a lot.
And I was working, every day. I was working long days every day. Did that for almost a year. During that time, I was still able to squeeze in some trials, right? I did really well. Mr. Graves took care of me. He moved me up quite a few times. And then but I wanted to go home, so that's why I was driving almost an hour to work. I already had a house in Williston. I wasn't gonna stay down there, right?
Right.
And they knew that when I came in, and so they, whenever I left, on great terms. He's offered to take me back several times, but like I said, I was trying to get home, so I came back up to Gainesville and started there with Miss Scott. Continued that for a few more years.
Stacy Scott, the public defender in the 8th Judicial Circuit.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And so we continued that path, and had some good trials here. At least here, it was a little bit better case file wise, right? I was able to get into an office where I ended up having 100 and some odd cases at a time, as opposed to 300.
Right.
It just it was one of those things where they had trouble keeping somebody, enough attorneys on staff down in Sumter County. They had, one attorney where they should have had 2 or 3.
Right.
And that was not, nobody's fault except for just,
system, right? the funny joke is, this is the funny joke. if you really know the system, and I was a prosecutor for 4 years in Daytona. I practiced criminal defense for, I'll still do it if the money is right. The fee is high enough, I'll do it. I'm doing civil now. I'm doing more auto accident PI cases, but I love doing criminal defense. I did that for, probably 11 years, and I can tell you, you've heard these terms like public pretender, or they're not a real attorney. There's a lot of public defenders I would rather have represent me than so-called private attorneys that have never stepped into a courtroom, that don't understand the constitutional protections, that don't understand how to select a jury, that end up quivering in front of a public audience and end up losing the case simply because they don't have the experience and the backbone to do what's right. And when you're working as an assistant public defender, you have to have backbone, you have to know the rules of evidence, you have to know the rules of law, you have to deal with client control. There's so many skills that you learn in that office that you don't get to exercise anywhere else.
Absolutely. And I know very few people that have had the trial time that I've had just because of that experience. Right?
Absolutely.
We're getting a trial about every month, and outside of COVID. I mean, that was a little period of it, but sometimes multiple in a month, right? And we have plenty of time to just crank them out and had a lot of success too, right?
That's great. I mean, you know how hard it is to win a trial, especially when you're picking up the file, a week before and you're moving it. Yep.
So that's where I got to know Yolanda, right? So me and her picked up a bunch of them together.
So Yolanda, for those of y'all that aren't familiar with our law firm, is a dynamic young attorney with Meldon Law. Yolanda means she is a rock star, and when she walks into a courtroom, she knows the bailiff, she knows the JA, she knows the judge. Heck, she knows everybody in Gainesville. So between Lott Bullock in Williston and Yolanda Means in Gainesville, we've got pretty much Alachua County on lockdown, and Levy County too. But so you and Yolanda worked a lot in the Gainesville office under Stacy Scott, trying cases and.
Absolutely. I remember we had a real funny one out of Archer, but I don't know how much I can say about that.
Well, give us a little bit of a tease here then.
So we had a guy initially came in charged with attempted murder, right? Ran over a significant other, and she comes to me and she says, "Hey, I know you spend a lot of time in Archer." She's like, "The restaurant there in town, they won't give us the video of it. Like, it all happened right here in front of this restaurant." I said, "Listen, I know the man owns that restaurant. Like, we'll go up there and talk to him." I said, "He'll give it to you." And we go up there and he's like, "It doesn't exist."
Right.
And we have, just police record on police record on police record saying it happened right there. So he ends up giving us this video where it's just nothing. It's just his parking lot all night.
Wow.
And so then it, come to find out, we ended up walking this one all the way to the door. We ended up not even having to have the trial, but it started with attempted murder, aggravated battery, domestic battery, right?
Yep.
And we get to the door and we're like, a deposition before all this, it comes out that the victim had been on a variety of drugs and alcohol and whatever else. And I don't know what happened, what didn't happen, but I can tell you this. It certainly didn't happen where she said, when she said, or how she said, or it'd have been on that video.
It would have been on that video. Video tells 1,000 words, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the videos we have a lot of cases now with videos, body cams, in-car videos. And whenever I have a client that wants to know how it's going to go in trial, I say, "Why don't you come into my office? We'll watch the video together." And we'll sit there across and we'll watch the video.
Very revealing.
And then afterwards we'll be like, "Well, what do you want to do?" Because I think I'm pretty persuasive. I like to think I'm likable. I can make some arguments. But that is going to come in. So no matter what I say, that video is playing. And then speaking of, Yolanda, we also have another attorney that has just, he still, can dabble in the criminal field, Ian Pickens, who's working in our PI department. He's the managing attorney in our Ocala office. And he's been with us for, almost 6 years now. I hired him when I was a defense lawyer, and he was a prosecutor in Ocala, and it was the only reasonable one that would work with me. So I said, "Why don't you come on my side?" But you and my understanding is you and Ian went hunting this past weekend.
Oh, yeah, we went and tried to get a turkey. We weren't real lucky, but I'm going to try to take him again. He was driving to Georgia to shoot turkeys a few weeks ago. When I was talking to him, I was like, "Why are you doing that? We can go right there in Williston."
So tell me so you guys didn't get any shots off, huh?
No, we had a couple of hens on us, but we never even got nothing that was legal in sight. So
wow.
One of those days.
Well, Ian says that when we hired him, he's comes from a long lineage too. He comes from the Pickens family, which Colonel Pickens up in South Carolina. There actually where Clemson is, that county's named after him. He was a very famous Confederate soldier in the Civil War, but Pickens, I think he's throughout Florida, Flagler, near Palatka. So between Yolanda and Lott and Ian, we've got a lot of generations of people in North Central Florida. But regardless, he was telling me he was a country lawyer until we found out we hired Lott. And he's like, well, Lott's out-countries me by a mile, so I'm no longer the law firm's country lawyer. So you got him beat in that department.
One of few around here that dog hunts, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So, but I'm glad that you guys got out there and had a good time regardless, and a little bit closer than Georgia.
Absolutely.
But, so we got some, the funny part about the profession that we're in is that it doesn't matter what your race, creed, color, sex is. If you're a trial attorney, you recognize another trial attorney. That you got to be a little bit fearless. You got to be a little bit crazy. You got to. It's kind of it's a little bit of a what do they call that? A contradiction, because you have to be insecure enough to always want to work on those cases.
Absolutely.
Because you know there's always work to be done, but you also have to be confident enough to be able to walk in and deliver when you got the full the base is loaded and it's 3-2 count. You got to hit the home run, right?
Well, it's funny the way I describe it to a lot of my friends. They're like, "What do you like about trials?" Like that seems like you got to put yourself out there. It's like the anxiety.
Yeah.
People are like, anxiety, what do you mean? It's like, well, I'll spend a week, 2 weeks stressing about, I try to think through every argument that I can because I don't want to be caught off guard, right? But you also got to be willing to present that to 6 people you've never met before, right? So it's just there's a lot of anxiety there. And I don't know if there's such thing as a healthy anxiety, but I live for it. I love it.
And you're exactly right. I don't know if I've ever told this story before, but the way the moment I knew I was going to be a trial lawyer, not just because I didn't know what kind of lawyer I was going to be. I came from a family of trial lawyers, but I was looking at some other stuff, opportunities too, maybe in-house counsel. I don't know what I was going to do. Maybe get a law degree and be a businessman. But I walked into the LSATs. You were talking about the LSATs earlier. LSATs are the admission entry test for college graduates that may want to go to law school. And when I was doing it, it was, probably 2000. It was 22 years ago. Everybody did it in person. There was none of this computer junk. You had a piece of paper, you had your pencil, and you filled it out. And I walked in, I sat down, everybody started getting nervous. I was ready to go. I look over and there's a person throwing up on the end of the table. I mean, vomiting profusely. And I'm like, I feel fine. I was like, I know I'm ready to go. And at that point, I knew that when I wasn't nervous going through those exams or the bar exams and all that stuff. And it's like you said, you kind of get focused in. You get that nervous excitement, that anxiety, where you're like you're ready to go, and for however much time it is, there's nowhere else where you're going to be. So you make yourself comfortable, and you have some. You tell the best. You have an opportunity to basically, I mean, here's the secret about trial lawyers. We're also a little bit egotistical because for about a week, people have to listen to us speak, which, at home, you don't get, I don't know about you, but my girlfriend ain't listening to me all the time at home like the jury has to for a week.
Anything that'll sit still long enough to have a conversation.
That's the truth.
I got a buddy, Josh, he said, we drove to Palatka to pick up a dog one time. He said, Lott, the easiest thing all I had to do was acknowledge that you were talking, and you just keep talking.
Yep, you got it. And so, so Lott, I think the time is just running quickly, but I want to talk a little bit about this festival that you're going to be at upcoming in Williston. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it, the Making Bacon?
So, I don't know a whole lot about it, to be honest. I'm pretty excited to get to know a little bit about it. I know they do it every year right there, Heritage Park. I know it's right there in town under the pavilion when you come into Williston. Mm-hmm. My understanding is it's growing more and more every year. I know the guy, Bill Foster, that is helping promote that thing. Sounds like he puts on some pretty quality events, to my knowledge, right? So I'm actually pretty excited to see what it's all about.
And so what do you do as a judge? What are you eating?
I don't know yet. I guess I'll find out when I get there. I know it's all
something,
bacon based.
It's something about bacon, yeah.
That's right, bacon based.
And so that's kind of cool. You get to go back to Williston and be a judge and check it out.
Most exciting part, right? To get to be part of home, right? Everything I've done's kept me a little bit away from home. This is the first time I've been able to be back, to be part of that. Get to see all the familiar faces, right?
That's what we want you. We want you to be out there and having fun and introducing yourself to people and spreading that Meldon Law gospel, for lack of a better word, right? All right. So we got how much time do we have left? Are we 2 more minutes? Okay, we got a couple minutes left. Is there anything you want to talk about in terms of? I know you were at the public defender's office and you worked for did some personal injury for a while. You came back here. Right now, Lott is focused in on criminal defense. He is going to be working his butt off on making sure that our clients are getting top-notch representation. I can tell you the resources that we have in Gainesville are second to none. We've got 6 trial lawyers that have all tried cases and criminal cases in our office, which I don't think that there's many that have that. So the benefit is that we can get a mind meld and figure out what we need to do.
I've done, this is going to be the 3rd place I've done criminal defense work, and I don't think I've ever had the support staff I've got now, ever, anywhere.
Well, we want to make sure that you are able to continue to represent our clients the way that our reputation is, and what we've learned is that it's really important to hire the best and the brightest. And we think we have that. We know we have that here with Lott Bullock. So we've got about 15 seconds left. Lott, do you want to say anything before we leave? Any words of wisdom or anything?
Not much.
All right.
If y'all ever need anything, give us a call. Go Gators.
There you go. Go Gators. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. Sorry we're a little bit late today, and we'll catch you next Tuesday at Meldon Law and Friends. Jesus. Yeah. Man.